Hi students, in this video we're going to look at how to determine the equation of a line using a table. So, what we will have to be able to do after watching this video is just determine the equation for a linear relation from a table of values. Right, so big things you have to remember is how to substitute values into an expression and also how to plot points on our Cartesian plane, that is the x and y coordinates, represent some point, that is x units along the horizontal axis and y along the vertical. That'll be important when it comes to our. Now, to determine the equation of a line, we're going to use a general form of a line, which is this equation here, y equals mx plus c. X and y are x and y variables, so our rule should have x and y still in it. But the other two letters are important too. So m is what we call the rate of change. And that's the coefficient, that's the number in front of our x term, and c is our constant. Now, we're wondering, well, what are those two things? What is the rate of change? So the rate of change is what the y value increases by or decreases by when the x value increases by 1. So what we're looking at for in our table then is when our x value goes up by 1, what change do we have in our y value? That's going to be this value of m. And then the constant we can work out, once we have that m value, we can work out the constant by determining what needs to be done when the x value is multiplied by the rate of change to make it equal to our y value. That sounds very wordy, but I'll go through it in some examples for you. All right, so we have to determine the equation for the following tables. We've got this first table on the left and another table on the right. So our first step is to remember that our equation is going to be something like y equals mx plus c, if there's some sort of linear related rule. So we have to work out, well, what is our y value going up or down by as our x values go up by 1? Thankfully, in this table, in our blue table, all the x values are going up by 1, and we can see that all of our values are going up by 3. So, actually, I might need a bit more space here. I'm going to move this equation down the bottom a little bit. Looking at our table here, our m value is going to be 3 because remember, our m value, our coefficient, is what value does y change by when x goes up by 1. And we can see in each of these cases, x is going up by 3, so our m value is 3. Now we have to work out our c value. To do that, what I'm going to do is write a new line at the bottom, 3x. Now, and that 3 comes from the m value we have just worked out. So I'm going to multiply each of my x values by 3. -6, -3, 0, 3, 6. And see if I can find some rule or some change I can make to these bottom numbers so they're equal to the ones in y, the ones above. If you have a look at all of those values in my new bottom row, if I subtract 1 from each of them, I get the y value. -6 take 1 is -7. -3 take 1 is -4. 0 take 1 is 3. 3 take 1 is 2. 6 take 1 is 5. So my c value is this value on the end, -1. So my equation is going to be y equals, m is my coefficient, my number in front of x, so 3x, and then c is this adjustment on the side, this constant, -1. And that's how I get my rule. Let's try the next one. Okay, here, again, my x values are going up by 1. My y values are going down by 4. So for my equation, y equals mx plus c, my m value is going to be -4. And that's going to be the same for the rest. We keep subtracting 4 every time. All right, so let's see what this one looks like. So we'll add in our bottom row, negative 4x. That'll be negative 16, negative 20, negative 24, negative 28, negative 32. Having a quick look at this one. Okay, if I add 26 to all of these numbers, I'll get the numbers above. Negative 16 plus 26 is 10, negative 20 plus 26 is 6, and so on. So my C value is 26. So y equals negative 4x plus 26 is my rule for that table. So students, once again, you work out m by seeing what your change in y is for every time x changes by 1. And then adding the extra row and working out what is my C value, what am I adding on to make my numbers the same between my new row and y. Right, one thing is to be careful of what to do if the x value does not increase by 1. So looking at this example, again, we're going to use our line, y equals mx plus c. Now here, x goes up by 2, and y goes down by 6. So then if x goes up by 2, y goes down by 6, what will y change by if x only goes up by 1? Well, we can work that out. So negative 6, so we're going to divide that negative 6 by 2. So our y value will only change by negative 3 if we only move one spot, and that makes sense. If we move twice, right, we go down 6. So if we only move once, it makes sense we only go down negative 3. So there's our m value. Again, we'll just add in that extra part of our table, negative 3. That'll be 9, 3, negative 6, negative 15, negative 21. And then once more, looking for our C value. If I add 5 to that row, I get the numbers above. So my C value is 5. So therefore my line is y equals negative 3x plus 5. Alright, so students, after watching this video, you should be able to determine the equation for a line from a table of values.